Hey guys, thanks for listening to Kinda Dating, the comedy dating podcast, where I, your host, Natasha, Chandel, and some cool guests break down the dating world and try to figure out why the do we all have commitment issues? Today's topic is the ick. Yeah, let's do this. Hello, Kinda Daters. I'm Natasha Chandel. You're listening to Kinda Dating. I have a real dear friend here with me today. It's been a long time coming. We've talked about this for a while. I'm so excited because he's very opinionated, which is what I love on this podcast. I really, really dislike people who have no opinion or are like, it depends. I'm like, everything in life depends. So I want to introduce my friend, actor, comedian, meme maker extraordinaire. You're like my social media guru. You tell me what's up. Guys, Razzle dangerously.
Also AMC Stubbs list member.
Are you?
And a TSA pre-check.
Hey, I am too now. That's
okay.
That's a good flex now.
It's a good, just gotta, if you're listing my credits,
you know what I also
that's the only verification I have. I don't have it on social media, but it's on all my plane tickets. So that's all the validation I need.
It's true. I actually
comment, and subscribe.
I actually got the global entry one too.
Okay.
And it was so amazing. So guys, if you've never done this, okay, I know people care about, a lot of them are like, I don't want my fingerprints and blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, I'm an immigrant. So when I came here for my green card, they took everything. They took retina scans, they took my fingerprints, they took my blood.
Yeah.
So I'm like, everything is on, like the government has all my shit. So if you want to frame me, it's already possible.
Right. Also, the government's got all your shit anyways.
On your phone. Yeah, it's true. Razzle just pulled up his phone. And global entry, though, is so amazing because you do all the background check, whatever, in advance. And then when you pull up, like Luis and I came from, I think, Toronto or Spain once. We came up. There was a crazy line in the rest of customs. We walk up, there's like 3 people. We literally didn't even walk up to the podium that does the automated thing in less than 30 seconds.
Amazing.
He already went up. They go, Luis Miranda and Natasha Chandel. And I was like, how did you even know we're together? We didn't even walk up together.
Facial recognition.
It was insane.
I'm
in and out in 30 seconds.
I'm for it. Look, I get the reticence from some people. Like I refuse to do 23andMe and all of those things. But my fingerprints, I feel like if you've been here long enough, they have you anyways. Or if you were born here, the government knows who I am. Everything I sign up for or whatever, I have to acknowledge and give them my information. My phone's always tracking me. And if you don't think the government's not in cahoots with all these major companies, regardless of lawsuits that are happening right now with certain companies like Apple, which made the stock drop a lot, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah. They're sharing information. Do you know what I mean? Like 100%. It's we're in their world.
Yeah.
So if paying $75 can let me keep my shoes on and everything in my bag and cut through the line, 100%.
Of course. Well, Raz, we're going to jump into today's episode.
Sure. I can ramble, by the way, so I apologize if I get off topic.
No, I love it. This is actually great. So, Raz, we're going to jump in. We have a really fun episode here. But before we get into that, we ask every guest the same question: single or in a relationship?
Oh, single.
Oh, you said. What does that mean?
Well, it depends. How long can this episode be? First off, I'm very bad at dating. I have my own things that I need. I'm very aloof. I miss things and all this stuff. Apparently I could go into this whole thing that maybe I'll just talk about. We'll go off air and I'll get your thoughts on things.
Okay.
But I fall hard. I'm a Pisces, so I can fall into really hard.
Oh my gosh.
I can get very smitten fast. But also I can miss things. Like I was at the beginning of the year, I was kind of seeing, and I say this because only after talking to people, they're like, oh yeah, those were dates or whatever. Didn't hook up, didn't nothing like that. But, long phone calls at night and hanging out and talking and plans and stuff like that, making future plans, a lot of future speak, which is very dangerous. And especially for people like me. And
did you initiate the future speak or did they?
It was both. It was both. Mostly, I would say mostly on her side for some of the things.
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the things. Then it just kind of like you know, I never made a move. Maybe I should have, but it was also we were kind of already friends prior, so it was kind of like a weird, you know,
Yeah.
like a it was just weird. So then I'm just, you know, I'm bad at dating in general.
A
So it's
lot of
like I,
people
you
think
know,
that.
um, so yeah, I'm single.
All right. Well, you and I have talked about this
I
off
have high
mic, but
standards, too high standards for what I should have, probably, but also I'm also an acquired taste, and that's one thing I'm working on. Is you're saying I'm very opinionated, and she's right, and she's like, oh, this he's the perfect guest for the show, but also those are my faults as well when it comes to things.
but all of our strengths are also our weaknesses. And the truth is, like, I'm very opinionated, and not every guy liked that. And that's
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
Like, those weren't the right people, and the right person likes it,
Right.
or tolerates it. And
That
that's
that's the
a
thing.
very important thing.
That's absolutely it. And that's the thing too, is like a lot of girls are like, oh, you know, we want a lot of women now. It's like, oh, we want men to be vulnerable and all this. And it's like, I almost was like, I can, like, I love everybody, but I was also like, bitch, I'm being vulnerable. And now you're saying I'm being insecure. So it's kind of like a hypocrisy as well,
Yeah.
which is, you know, one thing. It's like, okay, well, I'll just put my walls back up again and just fucking
No, it's true. I
mind the
mean,
course.
people oftentimes don't realize the words that they're saying, including women, right? Like, we
Right.
don't know. I don't think everybody understands even what they want, which is like you're
Right.
saying to somebody, "Hey, be vulnerable," but what does that mean for you?
Right.
Um, and like a lot of people think that they want vulnerability, but then yeah, then it gives them the ick.
Exactly. I was going to segue, but I was letting you do it because it's your show. I already seen the math in my head.
I
I
love
got
it.
math constantly going on in my head.
This is why this works. This is
Yeah.
great. But
Yeah.
side note, you got to come and we got to do, guys. We're doing this new segment that we're going to try, which is like 15 minutes diagnose me, where I'm going to talk to somebody, and in 15
Yeah.
minutes I'm going to decide if they're the problem or
Yeah.
if everyone else is the problem.
The problem.
So hey, but we're going to figure out why that is. So we're talking about the ick,
Yes.
which was a great segue. What is the ick?
So, from my understanding, and I try to be as hip as I can, and
You're
I'm going to
soup
play to you.
hip.
I'm going to play to you and the camera. Who do I play to?
No, both. Yeah,
Okay.
play the camera. Don't worry about me.
From my understanding, from my 42-year-old geriatric understanding, the ick is minute little things that can make a new partner that you're dating currently, or you're going on dates, or you're starting to see, or even been married to for a long time. The ick is something that just immediately, it's a tiny little thing, tiny little quote unquote red flag, but also not a red flag that makes the attraction immediately cease.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That's a good way to put it. Yes. So you guys know, I don't know if you know this, Raz. The ick was first coined by Ally McBeal. By Ally and Ally
Oh, I did
McBeal
not
in
know
the
that.
1990s, which again tracks because Gen Z's obsessed with the 90s.
Right.
So I'm like, yep, of course you would bring that back.
Uh-huh.
But yes, it's exactly what you said. And it's basically like something someone does in a romantic relationship that makes you cringe. It's more than a turnoff. It literally shuts you off.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, a psychotherapist, Gurpreet Singh, says it's more than doubting that you want to be with someone, it's repulsive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it can happen at any time.
At any time. And some of these on the internet are just insane. Like the reason it's funny, the reason the ick is like a thing is because it's partially, I mean, a lot of it's played for laughs and for influence and for clout and jokes and likes. But some of these are like, my husband gave me like, I follow this account. I texted
Yeah,
it. I don't know
you
if it's
sent
not,
it to me.
but it's called the guy with the notes. And he literally goes in his iPhone notes and he's got a list of like thousands. He just goes through TikTok, and any girl who's like the ick, he just goes through and he's like, do not do this. Do not. One ick was like, he's too close with his mom and he cared about her. And is like, so he goes to his notes and you just see the previous ones. And he's like, stop caring about your mom.
Yeah,
One
it's
of them
called
was
the
like
ick
the ick
list.
list. And it was, one of them's like, one of them is, my husband gave me the ick because he prefers the wine over beer. And it's like, what in what world are we living in? And this is the whole thing too, is it's like, rolling up my sleeves, taking my gloves off. Uh, Women have lost all sense of the plot. And I'll
Why
say
do you
that.
say that?
And I'll say that. And I'm going to look at the women watching this. Y'all,
Do it,
and
do it.
part of this is in jest, obviously, but also the internet is like, men are simple. Tell us we're funny, be kind to us, tell me you like Batman, and whatever, that's it. You know what I mean? Like I can, I have no problem. I'm an addict. I have no problem being addicted to a person. But when you flip flop from wanting equality and not equality, and then you get mad, you get the ick when the guy doesn't open the door or doesn't ask you to text him when he gets home, or asks to split the bill, or you get mad at, like I said, you're sick of toxic masculinity and men not being vulnerable, but we can cry in front of our friends and we can tell our guy friends we love each other. But then if you cry in front of a woman, that's an ick, and not a man. It's insane how.
Tell me how you really feel.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you in a minute. I'm just priming the audience for this, as you say, opinionated man. And look, a lot. Men are the problem as well, obviously, right? Like I have my own issues, and men have their own problems. But when we're talking about like the yicks, a lot of it is a female-driven narrative of why it's popular. Like the yick is popular because of women. It's like women math and boy math, right? Like it's created. Women are funny. Women on the internet and on TikTok are some of my favorite content creators just because they're funny. They can be really, really funny when they want to be.
Because
But
we're cat-like. We're very bitchy.
very bitchy. And also when it comes to women on women, it's very, very funny. But it's also can also turn into this apocryphal type of dialogues or type of narratives. If that makes
But
sense. Does that make sense?
I am gonna push back a little.
Am I making sense
Yeah,
though?
yeah,
Without being
100%.
too.
You're making sense. Totally making sense. I think the term ick is more used by women, but I think the concept of ick, if we think about it, there was an entire 9-season show that the ick was probably the basis of that show.
What show was that?
Which comedy is the longest running comedy, one of the longest running sitcoms?
Seinfeld?
Seinfeld. What was this? One of
Man
his big
hands.
man
Yeah,
hands.
yeah.
Exactly.
Sure.
Man, like all of Seinfeld was about the ick.
Right.
It was like they fell in love with somebody, they saw
Yeah.
somebody, they were perfect, and then one thing
Yeah.
that they did, it repulsed them so much that their neuroses came out.
Right.
They could not stop OCDing over that one or obsessing over that one thing that this person did or
Right.
has or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. And
Right.
like, so as much as we say it's a
Man hands.
female
Sure.
driven thing, I think we talk about it more openly.
Right.
But I think dudes also partake in the ick
I will
and
definitely
have an ick list.
I mean, it's an interesting thing.
Guys break up
Yes.
with chicks because of their laugh. Don't
Listen.
look at this face.
Yes,
You've
but
done
listen.
it.
But listen.
But everybody, but that's
That's
an
because
ick.
that's our superpower.
What?
Our whole thing is to be funny. And if your laugh is if you have a weird laugh when we're making you laugh, like guys love nothing more than to be the funniest person in
But
the
the
room.
point is, the ick isn't it's not a objective truth.
Sure.
It's a subjective
Right.
truth, right?
100%,
So like a
100%.
laugh is
Individualized.
like to somebody else, that laugh is so cute.
Right.
But to a dude,
Right.
that laugh is
Yeah.
enough to go like, I'm gonna have to hear that every
Every
time I
I'm
say
being
a
funny.
joke.
I know.
Like, forget it.
It's
You know?
gonna- you used to be funny. Why'd you stop being so funny? Because your laugh sucks.
Yes. I mean, guys, like, listen, there are tons of icks that guys
Yes.
have, right? That are like, the way somebody's nails
Yeah.
are, the way somebody, and a lot of time it's much more on the physical, I would
right,
say,
right.
attributes.
Yeah.
Whereas girls are much more like,
I mean, yes, and 100%, I
Yeah.
agree with you. It's definitely men are just the problem. As much as obviously, I play for jokes and all that stuff, right? But men are as big of a problem. I mean, it's a 50-50 thing. Like men and women are both the problems. Like it's not one or the other. I will say on my regard, men can be. I also think men can be. What's the word? un un
apologetic.
no, like underrated, not underrated, but
Uh-huh.
like Like men can be like you said, it's mostly about the looks, but also I see a lot. I mean, there's a lot of guys that are with non traditionally because of their person, like they're funny, they're talented, their personality,
So
and
they're
I
with
I think there's a lot of I think men can be construed as, oh, they only want to date a hot 22-year-old or a hot 23-year-old. I think a generalized men can be just as generalized as women can be
yeah,
generalized in some things. And I think at the end of the day, a lot of men, a lot of looks could, a lot of men don't even, looks is the fourth thing on the list. A
yeah.
lot of it is kindness and understanding and, finding them funny or, uh, how they treat others. I think then looks comes into play. Look, I've gone out with very attractive women.
Yeah.
Um, and I've hung out with very attractive women. And I've seen very attractive women from afar. And speaking of X, you can just see they're not fun to be around.
Yeah. But here, hold on. We're
Not
gonna get into. We're gonna get into. I think the definition. Like we're gonna zero in a little bit on the definition of an ick.
right.
But before we do that, guys, if you like this episode, screenshot this episode, tag us, and tell us what you thought of it. We're on social media. We're at Kinda Dating across the board on Instagram and TikTok. And if you don't know this already, why? But we are back on YouTube. Actually, not back. We literally just launched YouTube in January for the first time. So you can see all full episodes of our 2023 season and some of our classic episodes. Like we just dropped a great one with the huge influencer, Laura Clary. She was like our, man, like our sixth or seventh episode ever, something very, very early on. So fun. You're going to see Baby Tash. Baby Dash had like a baby voice also.
Oh,
Like very like, hi, hey, how's it
really?
going? Like when I first started the
Performative?
podcast like 6 years ago. When I was still a girl. I don't know.
Before
But
the
guys,
world beating you down.
exactly. But guys, make sure you please tell your friends to subscribe to the podcast wherever you get it. And please, can you look at your phone and leave us a 5-star rating or review? We would love to get to 600 reviews. We're fairly close, so please help us get there. I'm also on social. I'm at Natasha Chandel on Instagram and Facebook, Natasha.Chandel on TikTok. Raz, where are you at?
I am at Razzle Dangerously on Instagram, at My Name is Razzle on TikTok, at My Name is Razzle on YouTube.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all in the show notes of this
Yeah.
episode.
At My Name is Razzle on CoStar.
What's CoStar? Oh, wait. What is
It's
CoStar?
it's one of those astral
Are
stars
you
and
into that?
I'm not into that.
You
I
are
think a
into it
lot of
because you
them
already said that you're like, I'm a
I
Pisces
can
and I
be
do
well,
blah, blah,
I
blah.
mean, it's the oldest form of, self-help, I think, in the sense of I'm not very spiritual, but I'm not spiritual in the
Yeah.
sense of if our the older I get, the more I'm open to things that are completely understandable. Like if birth order is a thing, if people think birth order is a thing, then why can't the time of the year and where you're born? Like if and I'll distill it down to like 5 bullet points or 6 bullet points. Like our bodies are 70% water,
Mhm.
right? The planet is 70% water. If the moon can affect the tides of the ocean, why can't the moon affect the water inside our bodies with the gravity as well? And our brains are electricity, and the Earth is a giant ball of iron. Collectively, we're it's a giant electromagnet. And I think if you put all of that in the quantum physics and all of that stuff together with, location and time you're born, I don't see how the weather and the atmosphere can't affect it.
Yeah.
I
Do
also
you,
get how it doesn't make sense, but I'm open to things.
do you know my dad's an astrologer?
I did not know
You
that.
didn't know that?
No.
My dad's a legit Vedic astrologer for 30 years.
Huh.
Yeah, and I wrote an entire pilot about it.
Oh
We're
wow.
pitching it
Yeah,
now. Yeah, based
that's
on my
great.
life with my dad, who doesn't have my time of birth, so he
Huh.
can predict everybody's life except mine,
Except yours.
which
That's
is a
insane.
true story.
That's funny.
Nobody knows my time of birth, so
Nobody
I'm
does?
like, well,
There's
I'm
no way
just
to track it?
cursed.
You can't find it?
No, because there was emergency when I was born, and the electricity went out during
Oh,
my mom's C-section
get us out.
in Dubai, and then the
Huh.
backup generator didn't come back on, and
Sounds like a time travel
it
movie or
was like
something,
a full on like thing.
yeah, huh,
And then my birth certificate's like they approximated my time.
huh.
The only thing we do know, guys, which is a fun fact, and I don't know if I've ever said this story because I don't remember, but in Indian astrology or in Vedic culture, there's a period in every day, a 90-minute period in every day called poison time, which is called Rahugal. All we know is I was born during
Yeah.
poison time, where they say everything important should be avoided.
Uh,
I'm like, cool, cool, cool,
yeah,
cool. Great omen
cool.
for my life.
Checks out.
Yep, it really does track. So that's the one thing I know. Astrology does work. So wait, we're talking about the ick.
Yes.
And here's the thing. I think we're conflating two things, or maybe other people are conflating two things. To me, the ick isn't necessarily like, oh, he's not being vulnerable to me. That's an ick.
Right.
It's literally like superficial, stupid shit that should not matter,
Right.
but it matters to you. And it matters so much, it repulses you. And I'll give you an example. I was admittedly, when I started looking all of like thinking about the ick, I was like, oh man, I was notorious for the ick. Like I ended a relationship once um with someone because I saw a picture of them doing martial arts. But their posture was so bad, like they were like hunched over, and the kick looked like very like soft, and it just in my head, I was like, "Oh my
Yeah.
god, weak." And honestly, straight up, I thought effeminate because I grew up athletic. Like
Right.
am very big about I'm a very short, small person, but I'm very like people always think like, oh, you're taller because I'm very much about like posture. And I have a thing of like, what is my turn on is broad shoulders and like somebody holding themselves up. So when I saw that immediately, I could not get it out of my head and couldn't get it out of my head to a point that I just started becoming repulsed by this person that was otherwise a really
A
nice
really nice
guy.
guy. You just
And then in my head, I was just like, he's effeminate. It's
yeah.
too effeminate for
Yeah.
me.
So the guy with the notes on TikTok would write down,
Yeah.
"Do not take photos doing something you enjoy."
Yeah. Literally. Yeah. And it was like, and listen, I have you gotta have some. I know mine.
What because and here's the thing,
What's
because
yours? No, give me
well,
one. Give me one of your
but
icks.
also again, here's the thing where I think it is. I don't think it's not a real thing, but I definitely think a lot of it is played up for attention as of late on the internet, like things like this. Because also, there's always going to be things that like weird laughs are definitely a thing, but also if you're like, I was trying to think of some real ones that are things like this because, like you said, conflation of turnoffs versus icks are kind of a different thing, right? Like
Yes.
being rude to wait staff is not really an ick. That's just a straight up bad
That,
person.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
100%.
so I don't.
But that's what I'm saying.
That's the thing is
I
like
do
we all
think
have.
that there are
I
icks.
think there are icks, and I was racking my brain trying to think of like real things that I've seen that have like
But you've
done
never
that.
been turned off by somebody? Like, you never just like you liked somebody and then suddenly you were like, "Oh my god, she is just dumb." Or I don't know,
Yeah, but
like
again, like we
or
said,
she
that's a
didn't.
conflation.
But is it? It's not
Is
necessarily
being dumb an
somebody like
ick?
you could still like somebody else and they have dumb moments and it's
Yeah,
fine.
right.
But sometimes you just see somebody and they have a dumb moment and you're like, "Nah, I'm done." Like and that's where I'm wondering like, okay, wait.
I was gonna
We're
say
gonna
something,
take
but
us.
I'm also keeping I'm keeping some things close to the chest.
I want you to, but don't want you to.
Right, right.
We're gonna
You
take
don't want
a.
me to say this.
I do actually really, really want you to say this. We're gonna take a really short break, guys, and when we're back, we're gonna talk about what is behind the ick. We're gonna talk about some of our icks and how the ick manifests in a relationship, and also how to get over it. Yeah, that's a lot, but we're gonna cut to all of that after this break. Friends, we're back. We're talking about the ick. Okay, so I gave you one of mine, which was I got turned off by somebody doing martial arts really badly. I'll name you my others because I know you were like struggling with trying to figure
Yeah.
out which ones. I ended a relationship. I This is one that really bothers me in general, but any human on earth. My brother and my dad do this all the time. They chew with their mouth open and they do like
Yeah, that's a deal
that
breaker.
sound. I cannot handle it. I cannot handle, um, I had a guy once, I can't handle bad teeth.
Yeah.
It's something that I can't
But
get
again,
over.
and I'm using your words
Yeah,
of the conflation of icks versus turnoffs
yeah.
because bad teeth is just that's not
No,
an
but
ick.
but certain teeth give me an ick.
Chewing with your mouth open is a turnoff, not an ick, because that's
Mm,
something they do all the time.
it
They don't just start,
repulses me.
right? But like,
But maybe if I loved somebody and they did it, it wouldn't repulse me, and
yeah,
that's what I think I'm trying to differentiate
fair
with the
enough.
ick versus anything
Right,
else, which is what's behind the ick. The
right,
truth is, you being in a relationship with somebody you really love, y all those quirks are not gonna annoy you.
right,
Luis's farts don't annoy me.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Where if it was somebody else, I'd be like, "Oh my god, dude, go into another fucking room
right,
or something." You know what I mean?
right,
Nothing very little he does annoys me to that point,
right.
right? Or repulses me. But I have been in relationships with nice people that nothing was wrong, and I remember one guy cuddling me, but he cuddled me too hard.
Yeah,
So hard that I literally felt immediate like, "Oh my god, I'm so disgusted." I needed to run. And
yeah.
I did. I ran out of that person's apartment. He was like, "What?" I booted from his grip and ran out. And this is like, old
Yeah,
me who hadn't processed that I just didn't like this person enough.
right.
And I think that's what it comes down to.
I think, I mean, a lot of it comes down to what is the situation, right? What
Yeah.
is the relationship? Do you like this person? Is it just a thing? What is the what are the goals, right? Because there is that um if I'm sure I'm a Swiftie, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know this about me. I'm big fan of Taylor Swift. Um could give a fuck about sports. Travis Kelsey, I don't like his haircut. Seems like a dude, bro, but he's also seems like a guy's guy. Likes good music, whatever. Him and his brother get along. He seems like they'd be a
A
fun
nice
hang.
guy.
So I
Yeah.
get it. Point is they're two completely different people, two different types of careers. He's unlike any other guy she's ever really kind of dated, other
Mhm.
than maybe Jake Gyllenhaal, but he's kind of still not. And it's a will they, won't they? Like they're flying across country and across the globe to hang out and be with each other. Now, if someone does something, cuddles you wrong, they're not gonna like it definitely is a will they, won't they with icks. And you can it's not an if something's an ick, there's I think something underlying. I
That's
think
the
there's
key.
something psychologically about you that you don't want to be in a relationship with this person anyways, or you're trying to find a reason to self-sabotage.
I agree. And I think that is the key.
Right.
But, when I was researching this ick a lot, this ick thing, a lot of therapists say do not ignore that feeling. So again, you do have to look at yourself, and I do think it's worth analyzing. Are you just being picky? Are you unnecessarily picking on someone? But even if you are, that might say something. It might just say either you're not into this person, you're not ready for a relationship the way you thought you were. Um, Whatever it is, it's telling you something. And a lot of experts say don't ignore it.
Yeah, but can I tell you something about my thoughts on experts?
Yeah.
I think there's too many. I think there's too much therapy. I think there's too much self-help. I think there's too much life coaching. And you're talking to a guy who reads 2 self-help books a week. I listen to 2. I can't read. Reading's very hard for me,
It's
but I
hard
listen to
for everybody
audiobooks.
now.
I think there's too much therapy. I'm pro therapy, but I am also anti therapy. I think people need to learn how to do things for themselves instead
Yeah.
of going to the internet, going to other people, going to TikTok for uh, acknowledgement or to reinforce their thoughts and beliefs.
Well, I think the difference with experts is also there's a lot of knowledge, but people aren't applying knowledge. So there's two different things. You have a lot of people talking, which is annoying, but very few people are actually doing the things that they should be doing. Because the truth is, you should not be. Um, I've been in therapy for like 10
Right.
years, and maybe even more than that. And it's changed my life, but it changes my life because I'm not at all where I was 10 years ago because I literally go, I do my thing, she gives me homework and I apply it. And I go home and I do it. So, yes, I
Have you been going
agree
to the
that
same
there
therapist for 10 years?
this one because I moved. So, this one is maybe the longest, like 6 years.
Don't and this might be not even the podcast for that, but don't you like do you think therapists work when you find new ones? Because at some point you become a friend and you go to someone for too long. And
Oh
you're
no,
not, you
she's
know what I mean?
not
Like,
my friend at all. She keeps me, and
do
that's
you
what I
think you
love.
can go to a therapist for too long without growing? Like without needing a change and needing a new
I think everybody has to find the for me therapy. I think the part that people get wrong is
yeah,
that they go to therapy just to vent their feelings. I go to therapy for tools and
yeah,
solutions to problems, and so I try to not. Um, you have same themes that come up because you're
yeah,
working through something, let's say long term, but then you have these shorter term problems. Um, but like my therapist, I have a really good relationship with her at this point, but she's not like BFFs with me.
right.
Even though she's probably closer or maybe a little bit older than me. But she remembers everything I
Yeah,
say that shit I forgot like 6 years ago that I told her. But it's much more about like tools and homework and go and do this. And then there's a boundary,
yeah.
where I talk to a lot of my other friends and they've just been with that person for 10 years and they're still going through the exact same
That's the
problem.
exact same problems.
But then to me, that's not a therapist problem. It's not an expert's problem. It's you as, again, the consumer of information. If you just want to consume, you can consume forever,
Right.
but you need to actually apply the things that you are learning.
Yeah.
Same with spirituality. I mean, if you look at a bookshelf right there, I have
Yeah.
I have a shit ton of those books because I'm obsessed.
Right.
And then I had to learn to stop and go, okay, like what I need to actually apply some of these
Right.
things.
I don't disagree with that. I mean, I know like even to bring this back to dating, I've pseudo dated some girls, we were in, whatever ambiguous things. Um and both of them were just getting out of like relationships and part of their one of the excuses was like, my therapist doesn't think I'm ready for to move on or to whatever. And it's like, okay, well, first off, fuck your therapist. I like you. Secondly, how does your therapist know what? Because you only grow by experiencing and doing things. And if you're only going to listen to a therapist tell you what you can and cannot do or what they think is good or not for you without actually experiencing and growing, and same with like the icks of, you know, like like experts say you should listen to those, but maybe you shouldn't. Because if you listen to that little kernel, then you're just gonna if you're gonna listen to them and get an ick from them doing one little thing instead of working past it and actually working like the icks to me, it also is the ick um their fault? Or is it your fault for like having such a hang up on that type of a thing if you like this person? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can I say something? I sense that you have been broken up with because of
This doesn't
because
look,
of
I have
an
other
ick.
reasons. I have other reasons for therapy. I don't know. Look, I probably
I've been broken. I mean, I've had people end things with me.
I don't look my whole life. I mean, I'm 42 wearing pink and a plastic chain, and I got my fingernails half painted, and I had a mohawk for a bit, whatever. And my whole life is a Nick, but also my whole life is I have other things I'm working on. Like I have confidence issues as it is. I have no self confidence, and that's one thing I'm really really working on. And I'm getting better at, and just in general. But um, I'm sure I'm sure girls have lost it with me because of Nick. But also, that's another thing I'm working on is of I'm too. This is me. Often,
$100%.
I saw a quote in an article from Tina Fey to Bowen Yang,
Yeah, I
who
saw.
was bad mouthing things. And this quote stuck with me. And this is a quote that really stuck with me. And since then, I have it memorized. And I've heard similar phrases in other self help books that I've been listening to, even though I think a lot of them are bullshit. But it's all, it's all
Mhm.
piece of taking slivers whenever you can get it or whatever. And the quote is authenticity is dangerous, and it's the most dangerous. And most of my life, I feel like I've always been my authentic self. There's times in my life where I've tried to put on different personas and I try to dress different and I try to act different. But at the heart, I'm who I am.
Mhm.
In groups of friends, in group threads, in whatever. I've lost friends over time. I've because I can be I'm the cop in the 80s movies who's the loose cannon and he plays by his own rules, but he's a good cop. And I'm a good friend and I'm a good guy and I'll make fun of everything. Nothing offends me. I'll make fun of everything and I'll say every kind of word in the book if it's for a joke and it's for a laugh or we're having an actual discussion about things. But at the heart of the core, I'm a Midwest kid from Michigan who means well, and I make it a point to not hate people because it's dangerous. Um, that being said, I'm also me all the time, and me all the time is a lot, and it's hard for me to even kind of try and rein in things.
Yeah.
And if I like someone, I like someone. Hey, if I like you, I like you. I'm gonna want to talk to you all the time. I'm gonna want to hang out with you when I can. I don't give a fuck how talented or busy you are. Text me a meme or something also me. And when I try to play the game, like it's playing games is not. I'm great at playing games when it's not
Mhm.
actual, like when it's not these types of games. If that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Well,
Does any of that make
it
sense?
totally makes sense
Because
to
this kind
me.
of goes off the rails as well.
No, no, it
But
comes
it,
back to the
but I
ick in the
am the
sense.
ick.
No, you are not the ick. It comes back to the idea that what you're saying is a lot of times people's authentic selves can give somebody else the ick.
Right.
And what I want to push back on, even with the quote that you said, is that authenticity is dangerous. Authenticity without awareness, without using critical judgment, is dangerous. What the mistake people make, again, I'm going to say what we were talking about being creative versus being a business person. People always think that you need to be all or nothing. It's all authentic or nothing. And they just take authenticity on the surface, which means you are your pure, authentic self all the time. The truth is, none of us know who we are to
Right.
be our authentic self all the time. You literally just railed off 10 things that you feel are wrong with you. So
Yeah.
you can't be your authentic self because you don't know what that true self is.
Right.
Part of who we are as humans is we have a brain
Hmm.
that allows us to have awareness and judgment. Now, my authentic self, might sit at home in pajamas, braless, with like looking like a monster, in an oversized hoodie. But when I go on stage or I go on a job interview, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
So somebody could argue, well, you should be your authentic self. No, bitch. You know what is also a great quote in life, which is fucking Shakespeare, who says all the world is a stage and
Mm.
all of us are merely players. We have our entrances and our exits, and all of us in our life play many parts. You can play all those parts authentically. I can be authentically a great daughter in that moment, but I also am not going to tell my mom about all the times I fuck,
Right.
even though that's what I would do with my friends authentically.
Well,
And
and
so this is where that mistake happens. I think what Tina Fey was saying to Bowen Yang, because I did watch that interview, was to say in his mind, he's justifying saying anything he wants about anybody because he's being authentic.
right.
And that can be dangerous without using your judgment or your awareness that you have a career to look out for.
Right.
And you now cannot say these things because it's honestly not that nice. So if that is your authentic self, fix yourself because that's actually not nice.
Well, and that's the trick, right? Is the and to bring it back to dating too is the mystery or the um putting out being your best authentic self while also being your best presentable self. And that's the tool, right? That's the, like you said, the self-awareness of reining in, compartmentalizing, who can handle this version of you, because you can be authentic and also have different versions, right?
Yeah, of
Bruce
course.
Wayne and Batman are two different people, two different things,
Totally.
but they're both authentic. Clark Kent, Superman, and I'm only using those because they're obviously,
Yeah.
you know, uh, two different roles. Um, so it's the self-awareness of, which version you're letting be seen.
Yeah. But I do think coming back to the ick is like, it's not your fault guys, if you're listening and somebody got turned off by you because of an ick,
Right, like a
it's not your
photograph of you
fault.
doing
Yeah,
karate.
listen, that person is amazing. That
Right,
person's still a friend of mine. It
right,
had nothing to do with them. I'm not saying that I'm acknowledging that that was an ick for me,
right.
but that didn't mean that that person was the things that my brain said that they were.
Mhm.
It just and the truth was I wasn't that into that person. And
Right,
it was happening for a while. And I couldn't, I tried to come up with the real reason, and the real reason was that I felt that our relationship was very surface level,
yeah,
and I kept trying to like be like, "Hey, like can we like talk about something more or something deeper or like it not feel like we're just glossing along like
yeah,
this is what couples do." Um and I tried and it person wasn't understanding what I said, and I tried a
yeah,
bunch of times and I was like, "Okay." And then my brain hooked onto an ick.
right.
So I agree with you that it's something underlying, and a lot of times maybe we use it as an excuse to get out of a relationship. So I do think it's worth looking at, and I did. I stayed in it for a while after
Yeah,
the ick. I was like, "Hey, am I just being a jerk?"
yeah,
Like, and then I tried and I tried, and at one point I was like, "Yeah, I think I've lost it." And then you have to exit, because you're not helping somebody else either by just staying in something to stay. But you can also look at yourself and go like, is there something going on in you that you're just being nitpicky with someone for
100
being a human?
100%, 100%. Because again, like like you said, is it are there underlying reasons why you want to, but also are there underlying reasons why you're afraid to break it off or leave? Like you can
Yeah.
get in a comfort zone, whether or not you're coasting along, or not. It's you know, it's an interesting thing because again, it's like you could be, but then again, if it's underlying and everything's fine, like some of the icks on the internet are like, if everything's fine, the ick is like, oh, just some random thing. Like your husband gives you the ick after, cause and this is the one that I remember cause the wine over beer, but it's like, he's your husband.
Yeah.
Like, how long has he not
Yeah.
preferred
And
wine?
that just shows you that there's something else to me going on in that
Right.
relationship.
Yeah.
There's clearly this person is not, and I think I watched that video and I think that that person prefaced saying, I was feeling weird with my husband for a while.
Yeah.
And then I noticed that this thing started annoying me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, there's something else going on
Yeah.
that they're not addressing. And then it gets manifested as the ick
Right. Right.
whatever that one random
Right.
thing is. It could be a fucking nose hair that they have. It could be whatever.
And that's the thing is it's it's the pebble under the mattress type of thing, right? Where it's this tiny, there's something there, and then it's like the dam breaks.
Yep.
And then it's this one little this thing, this ick that all of a sudden it's like, okay, now I don't like this person.
Yeah.
But do I like,
Yeah.
it's
I just think that people on the other side, listeners, like again, if you have experienced someone ending a relationship with you because of an ick,
yeah,
uh, it's not you.
right,
It's but then that comes down to everything, and it's like we're not gonna be everybody's cup of tea,
right.
and you gotta just, like, do you. Like, I have really annoying qualities about me, that, like, my brother hates so much shit about me that
Yeah,
Luis loves. Hates it. Hates things about me. He hates that I roll my eyes. I roll my eyes a lot, and he literally, every time I talk to him, will point it out, like, he's so disgusted by me and he makes me roll my eyes too. He
yeah,
purposely says things to egg me on. But I've never had any other person point that out to me.
yeah,
Maybe they're scared of me. I don't know. But
yeah,
nobody else has pointed out. My brother points it out over and over and over because it
yeah.
fucking disgusts him.
Tell him to stop
Um,
being an idiot
I
and
know.
you won't roll your eyes.
Exactly. That's what I do tell him.
Yeah,
But it's okay that like somebody is not gonna like you.
yeah,
Obviously, that's my brother. He shouldn't like me.
right.
I mean, hey, he should not like me. But that could be anybody. Sub
yeah,
my brother for whoever. And there are lots of people who don't like things about you. Um, and fuck them. I'm not. I don't mean that in like a of actually like they can go fuck themselves. Just like literally fuck them. Like they're just not the right fit for you, and it makes you feel bad. But just like put in perspective that um, none of us are perfect, and like there's like there that other person is giving someone else the ick too.
It's, I I mentioned I'm a very self-conscious person, and also I'm listening to everything I said on this podcast so far, and I'm like, oh, I'm coming off as really unlikable.
No, you're not.
I'm coming off as an asshole for all your listeners, but just know,
You're not.
I appreciate you for making it this far in the episode without
I don't think you
turning
are
me off.
coming off
But
unlikable.
I
I
and
appreciate you
and
giving like and again an alternate point of view and
well,
saying
you
what you
because
really
we
feel.
know each other, we're friends. But
Yeah.
if you don't know me from Adam, I could see how you could think I'm
But
a
listeners, my friends here, they
sure,
know that I don't have people on who are like shitty
right.
humans. So
Um, but as far as like everything to tag on everything you said is it's not you, right? Like it's everybody's got something going on in their life, whether or not it's everybody's got certain things they are looking for or what they want.
yep.
Some people are willing to make some concessions, and um, some people are mature enough in their life cycle to understand these concessions and weigh what's more valuable to them than to forego to create a partnership when like dating, um, whereas others are not. And I also believe, not to get too, mystical or magical, um, I do think there, I don't necessarily believe in one soulmate. I think there could be multiple soulmates. I do think, I, I do think there's one person that I don't think you need to be married 3, 4 times. I think if you're doing that, I think you're kind of doing it wrong. I think there is a way to work through problems collectively to stay with one person for the longest amount of time possible. Um, but that person, I do believe, will be provided by the universe when you are ready for that person to come into your life.
True.
Whether or not it's with self confidence issues like myself, or worth, or icks, or therapizing or whatever. I do think there's also the element of there's a it's like vision boarding and manifesting. It's like if there's a specific person that you vision yourself seeing, how do you put yourself in a position to attract that person so that person will also be attracted to you, who you are as a person. You can't expect to have the person come into your life if you're not willing to change or put yourself in different social circles or
Mhm.
occupations or whatever. Everything's a building block. And same with icks, right? Is icks can be overlooked if that person's willing to um like you for what you're also giving them, if that makes sense.
It does. It totally does.
You know?
Um, I feel like Raz, you and I could talk about this
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
And that's usually how our conversations always go. So
Hmm.
I feel like this is a good place to wrap this up. But guys, look up the ick. Try to be conscious of your icks and message us what some of those icks are. That would be fun. Yeah, do that. Razzle dangerously, you are not totally done. Firstly, thank you for being on the
Absolutely.
show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we do 6 questions. We
Okay.
ask every guest the exact same 6 questions. So, razzle dangerously, are you ready for your 6
I
questions?
am ready for my 6 questions.
All right, here we go. What is the first thing you notice about a potential partner?
Oh gosh. I mean their face, probably.
Okay.
If we're the first thing I know, I mean, like their looks,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's however you perceive it.
Right.
So, what is one deal breaker?
A deal breaker to me, one deal breaker I would say is like if they're rude to people. Um, I don't like rude people. If they weird laughs can be a deal breaker, but also as long as if they're not one deal breaker is being not fun.
Okay, you gave me 3. I
I know
said
that's a
1.
broad
I
thing. I
said
know.
1 deal breaker.
Right.
What turns you on?
What turns me on? Um, as of late, I will say talents.
That's a
I
good
will,
one.
I'll not do the cliche of obviously, I like a good set of eyes. I like a good neck. I'm glad chokers have been coming back. I like a good neck. Um, but the older I get, the more like talents and
Mhm.
like having a thing
Yeah.
is far surpasses necessarily looks.
I could see that. What are one of your strengths and one of your weaknesses in relationships?
Strengths are one of my strengths.
One strength, one weakness.
One of my strengths is, I would say it could be the same. I would say it could be the same thing. Is um, I can be an addict in the sense of I if I like you, I like you. But also if I like you,
I
you
like
better
it.
get used to 9 texts in a row, regardless of if you answer or not.
That's fair.
um, so I would say that could be both a strength and a weakness.
Razzle, what is love?
That is, I mean, I think it's like happiness in this sense of, and this is me getting deep and not being too funny, but I don't think it is. I don't think it exists. I don't think happiness is real. I think it's a choice. I think you choose to accept the situation you're in and live comfortably in that sense. And I think love is the same thing. I think love, because happiness ebbs and flows, love ebbs and flows. Do you know what I mean? So I think love is a ever changing feeling that you constantly need to work on or accept or choose to um, be in.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Your last question. Besides "I love you," what 3 words would you want your partner to tell you?
Check this out.
Love it. That's a very
Yeah,
unique one. I
yeah.
like it. I like it. Well, Razzle, thank you so much for being on the show. How
Thank you
can
so
everyone
much.
find you? Your stand up, all the fun things.
Yep. Just, social media at Razzle Dangerously on Instagram, at My Name is Razzle on TikTok, um, at My Name is Razzle on YouTube. Obviously, you'll notice my Instagram is different. I do have a My Name is Razzle on Instagram, but I'm turning that one more into, kind of me just being me and things I like versus more comedy stuff. So if you want just comedy stuff for Instagram, at Razzle Dangerously.
And we will have all the links in the show notes of this episode. So please make sure you follow and support my friend Razzle Dangerously. Um, Thanks so much for being
Thanks
on the
for having me.
pod.
I'm so excited to be here.
We are also on social media. We're at Kinda Dating across the board. I'm at Natasha Chandel on Instagram and Facebook, Natasha.Chandel on TikTok. You can find me. I'm around. Thank you guys so much for downloading this episode. If you like something you heard, please screenshot this episode and tag us on social media. Remember to send us your icks. And finally, I know it seems tough out there, but just try. Till next time. I hope you guys enjoyed that video and check out our next one. Thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe to this channel for more amazing dating, love, and relationship advice from me and so many expert guests. Follow us on socials. We're at Kinda Dating across the board. I'm Natasha Chandel, so you can find me too if you like. And join our newsletter on www.kindadating.com for lots of exclusives. See you soon.